Hey guys, it's Debbie, and I'm going to do a little mini podcast and try to do this once a month or so and talk about low carb athlete and fasting and low carb. How much fasting is too much that it will cause negative benefits instead of benefits. So, negative outcome versus positive. It's always that Goldilocks effect for everything. How much is too much? How much is too little? Find the right amount of everything that's a positive stress for your body, your unique self, because we are all different. We're not the same. And I am on a mission to help you live your life better the second half of your life. So I am turning 50 this November, and I am personally on a mission to improve my health and my performance in daily life to be better than the first half of my life. So I want to thrive and really just feel re-energized. And as I research more about fasting, cell autophagy, metabolic efficiency, the information out there isn't designed for the athlete. So if you're an endurance athlete, as myself, you tend to work out every day, maybe twice a day, you're a triathlete, or you're just, loving to do strength and cardio and be in the outdoors. We need to be careful of how much fasting we do. But, there's a process, there's order of operations, systems, phases we want to go through to become fat adapted. And so I'm taking my program I've done over the last 10 years with clients in my studio, now that I closed my studio in 2019, October 1st, and create that program online for people as you that are looking to get that extra edge on the aging process and being able to thrive and embrace the aging process instead of use it as an excuse that I feel like crap or I can't do this anymore because I'm getting older. Instead, I want you to figure out how to improve the whole you from the inside out with the elements of the holistic method. So we have 8 elements, and that's what we work on when I'm coaching people. Then I'll launch this group program in October and middle January. And it's working on 3 phases. Phase 1 is that 5-day reset, work on the liver function, open up the drainage pathways. Then we work towards a sugar detox, kind of low carb transition, get rid of eating inflammatory foods. And then we work on phase 3 is maintenance. How do we do this new eating lifestyle 80% of the time? And how do we implement fasting through all this? So we work on towards intermittent fasting 12 to 14 hours, and then going like a 16-18 window that we don't eat, and then eating in a time restricted manner that's 8 to 5 hours, and looking at doing what I like is a 5-1-1 plan, doing intermittent fasting 5 days a week, 1 day a week, do a dinner to dinner 24-hour fast, and then 1 day a week, don't worry about it, and eat healthy real food, but don't think of your macros and fasting, just eat to what your body needs and asks for, but not eating crap. So let me pull up some notes. So what I'm working on for the group program is working on this 3-phase program, but tying in the holistic method that it has phase 1 detox, and then the phase 2 and 3. But along that way, we'll be working on the holistic method 8 elements. So nutrition, exercise, and then of course, sleep, stress management tips, movement throughout the day. So even if you just did a great workout this morning and then you're sitting all day, that's not great. So we're going to add movement throughout the day. And then movement goes into the digestion, gut health is the next element. They're not in order, they're all important. And hydration, making sure we're drinking water throughout the day. Make sure it's not too much at nighttime, or eating. You don't want to drink while you're eating. And then we've got happiness, number 8, which is really important part, I think, of feeling and living your best self. So working on hydrating throughout the day, and then working on happiness throughout the day, laughter and play. So we work on all these 8 elements in my program that I'll launch for groups. But let's kind of dive into how to build up to a 24-hour gut reset fast today. So I'm just kind of look at my notes. Phase 1, I work on having people work towards fat adapted, working on eating whole foods, real foods, 2 weeks or so. And then we work on unintentionally fasting. So we stop eating before bed, so 3 hours before bed. And then you automatically should be getting a 12-hour fast. If you wait in the morning when you wake up, wait to eat until you're hungry. And maybe you just have, start your day with some good filtered water, adding some hypertonic minerals in it, and that ketone minerals we talked about with Ben Greenfield, or some LMNT, electrolytes with some aminos, and do that before you might start your day and start an exercise session in the morning, fasted. So unintentional fasting happens once you're efficient fat burner. And after we learn on how, what, and when, and why you are eating, we do that kind of through the program, and you figure out those macros. Once we discover what works, the right mix of macronutrients for your unique body, and that's going to take into account your microbiome, your ancestry, your genetics, looking at something as DNA fit reports for nutrition. We can learn a lot there, working on food sensitivities or reactive foods by just paying attention to heart rate variability and pulse method to see if your pulse goes up, working on using something as NutriSense, continuous glucose monitor. So those are all great tools to have in your nutrition protocol that we work on in my program. So we start to break our fast later in the morning and wait to eat until we start to feel hungry. If, as I said, if you stop eating before you go to bed, so if you're going to bed by 10, we want to stop eating at 7 o'clock. And so that would easily be 12 hours. So think fasting is the absence of eating. So not taking any calories, having, electrolytes and water, having organic coffee as Keon in the morning, black without anything. Technically, I do add a little bit splash of heavy cream in my coffee in the morning. So ideally fasting is 0 calories. And we do that in phase 1. I feel like that's a good way to kind of start your transition and becoming fat adapted. Let's kind of work on your timing of eating, 12 hours, not eating, 12 hours eating window, and then narrowing that down so it gets to be that 16-8. So it's that 8-hour time restricted eating window. Then we work on what you're eating, how you're eating in that 8 hours, so that in that when, and then making sure we're mindful, breathing before we eat, focusing on chewing our food, eating slowly, and not multitasking and rushing around, doing other things while you're trying to eat. What I also like to work towards a client, and in our group coaching program, we do this, is a bone broth fast. So once a week, we start to work on towards a bone broth fast. So in that transition period, once we become more fat adapted and unintentional fasting, we can add in a liquid day. So in that 8-10 hour eating window, we start to just have liquids once a week. We may do it once a month, but we do bone broth, and there's lots of great information. Allie Miller has great info, Dr. Axe, and many others. I put links into my article I'm writing for a bone broth fast. But bone broth fast, you can do 16-18 hour not eating, and then you switch that eating window, as I said, to liquid food plan with bone broth, 3 to 6 cups. And then optional is to add some healthy fat. So depending on your weight loss goals, or you're just trying to give your digestive system a little vacation and help your gut heal, adding a little healthy fats for a lot of athletes, I think is good, because we're still might be moving around doing some exercise, lower heart rate, strength training, not any metabolic met content, but workouts that day. So you can add ghee, a little bit of grass-fed butter or MCT oil, olive oil, or coconut oil. So you can pick one of those and do like a teaspoon to tablespoon of fat into your bone broth and drink that in your 8-hour window with some other herbal teas that I talk about and some mineral water. So benefits of a bone broth fast. Ali Miller had a great article, and I'll just kind of say what she wrote in her videos and blog, and I'll put the links into my blog post here today. But improving weight loss and helping with weight maintenance, improving digestion, and promotes a healthy gut due to abundance of gelatin and the amino acids that are in bone broth. Bone broth fasting improves your sleep, fights brain fog with the presence of glycine, which I've been talking and researching a lot about glycine and adding that into my water at nighttime and before workouts lately. So more benefits: collagen, glucosamine, chondroitin strengthens the tissues, reduces joint pain, and keeps your hair nice and strong. So we want that. Also, your skin and your nails are healthier. Bone broth soothes the gut wall lining and reduces inflammation, which is key for everybody, especially athletes. If you're doing endurance workouts, training in the heat, especially as it's summertime here, we want to be sure we're doing some gut repair as we are increasing our chances of leaky gut by exercising longer and in warm weather. So we want to make sure we're having that glutamine. I've been doing Keon colostrum in the morning, 1 scoop in my mouth, fasted, and letting it absorb my mouth morning and night. Having glutamine in a shake or drinking the bone broth is really great for that as well. Bone broth also stabilizes your blood sugar, reduces risks for diseases as diabetes, cancer, heart complications. The gut lining damage can occur from stress alone, Ali Miller says in this article. We see depleted levels of glutamine, which I just shared my thoughts on it, an essential building block for the cells of our gut lining under elevated stress. So stress can be over exercising. It can be worrying about getting enough money in your income each month. It could be not having a job. It could be family stress. So stress externally and internal stress lead to that domino effect, metabolic chaos, we say, as Reed Davis says. So we want to make sure we're strengthening that gut wall lining, and the glutamine really helps. And we can get that in our bone broth, as well as I get glutamine itself and put a scoop in that into a shake. Beyond resetting the gut, bone broth, the glutamine, collagen, and gelatin also support the gut tissue repair to reset gut integrity, reduce inflammatory stress while enhancing nutrient absorption at your future meal. So that is awesome, and highlight that. I think it's a big thing to think about is inflammation that we're creating with exercise and just with daily stress of life and our toxins in our environment, our household, and everywhere, that we are always working on anti-inflammatory. So doing a bone broth fast, along with, when you do eat, having anti-inflammatory type of foods we can dive into. So fasting supports reduction in insulin levels. It allows the body to access your stored body fat. And when you are in a fasted state, the body makes more human growth hormone and stimulates metabolism and has a muscle sparing effect. So that's another key note that Ali Miller talks about, is that insulin levels, reducing that through fasting, but having extra human growth hormone is important as we get older. And I have some clients that don't sleep until later, and they're missing that window that we hear about, 10 p.m. till 2 a.m. that your growth hormones release. So as you're getting older, or maybe your sleep schedule's a little later, fasting and a bone broth fast is a great way to improve your growth hormone. So it's a huge amount of growth hormone that's released with fasting. So it's fascinating. All right, bone broth is packed with minerals as well as amino acids, making it a perfect addition to extending a fast. It will keep electrolytes stable versus water fast alone. I also add truffle sea salt, maybe some turmeric salt, and some other little spices sometimes, kelp seasoning, different things into my bone broth to make it a little tastier and more interesting. I really love adding sea salt. as well as, not on top of the truffle sea salt, but just different type of salts. And I really love this kelp seasoning I shared on Instagram. So that's from EllieMiller.com, Ellie Miller RD, registereddietitian.com, on both broth fasting. They also have cool videos you can find on YouTube. All right, so in the next phase, once we get in towards a bone broth fast and you feel comfortable with that, then we might add in a 24-hour fast dinner to dinner called OMAD. I didn't know years ago we were doing this in my 5-day jumpstart. If you just have one meal a day, say you stop eating Friday night, 6 o'clock dinner, you don't eat until the next night, Saturday, 6 o'clock dinner. And in between that time, you don't have any calories. You just do more the water, the herbal teas. You can do some black coffee as Keon. And we like the Golgensteiger, whatever, mineral water that has more magnesium in it. We like the Quinton hypertonic minerals in the morning and the isotonic minerals at night. I like LMNT by Rob Wolf. His salts we add in our water. And the Keon aminos that you can have the tablets is a great addition to that. That is going to be beneficial for the athlete doing a water only fast. So that's OMAD, dinner to dinner, and just make sure you're not doing the calories in that time. But what I think you need to remember is the exercise is going to be different that day. That's going to be more your rest day, active recovery. So, moving throughout the day, getting some nice walks, maybe go for easy swim, lifting weights you can do, but not any hard, high intensity work. And slower training might be good that day. Pilates, maybe golf, things that are going to be low heart rate, and maybe get a massage that day instead and do a little rest therapeutic type of day. So Ben Greenfield does a 24-hour fast. He kind of does what I talk about, that 5-1-1, that he does 12 to 16 hours. Women, less is more for fasting, especially if you're cycling. Still, you really want to not go over, some say, like the 15-hour marker for fasting, intermittent fasting. And we can dive into that on another video on fasting for women, female athletes. I want to address more that we don't want to fast too much because that will be a stressor on certain days of your cycle. And Dr. Mindy has tons of info. She's coming out on that. But I think it's different for athletes and fasting, and then fasting for the low carb athlete and the female athlete. Okay, so Ben says he does a 24-hour fast after about 3 weeks of intermittent fasting. Then you pick your best day for a 24-hour fast. So either breakfast, lunch, or dinner on a Saturday, for example. You can do any day of the week. I tend to do it Sunday to Monday. Begin a 24-hour fast until breakfast or lunch, dinner the next day. So continue to take all your supplements, he says. I have an article I found by Dave Asprey that has certain supplements you can take that won't interfere. Like, think you don't want to take vitamins that you have to take with food. So you want to take those with your meal when you get to your meal and break your fast. During the course of the fast, you'll consume a maximum on this dinner to dinner OMAD fast, maximum of 2 cups of any of these teas that he'll list. I'll share what he tells us. And bone broths. And you also want to drink clean, good filtered water. And if you're concerned about, an athlete concerned about energy levels or muscle maintenance, you can use any of the following: 1 to 2 cups of the bone broth, up to 30 grams of amino acids, the tablets, not the drink mix from Keon, split into 5 to 10 gram portions. 2 to 3 shots of trace liquid minerals, as we like Quinton, the hypertonic is great minerals that you can add in your water, or sea salt, or sea salt and lemon juice in water is great. Fresh lemon squeeze in your water is great. 2 to 3 handfuls of energy bits, and that's going to have that spirulina or the chlorella. You can look at that. Their recovery bits is great. So you can get 20% discount on energybits.com using my code, the low carb athlete. We did a podcast with them last year. Okay, so the teas and broths that Ben talks about on his podcast and blog and in Boundless is a Paul D'Arco bark tea. You prepare in his book. He has the information on that. Bone broth. I like Bonafide Provisions. I know Belcampo has bone broth. Kettle Fire is a brand in a carton, but I find it doesn't have that gelatinous. So I find if you can get organic grass-fed bone broth, you should be able to put it in the refrigerator once you are done. Maybe you have an extra cup left over, put in the fridge. And then if you come back later, it should, when it gets solid, it should be gelatinous. So if it's still liquid, I don't think that's as great as bone broth as you can get because you don't get the gelatin in it. So there's also ideas Ben has in Boundless, his book, Decoction Tea. Never say these words out loud and you say them and they come out wrong. Boil 1 to 2 tablespoons of organic chopped licorice root, organic marshmallow root, organic slippery elm bark in a pot filled with 2 quarts of water. He says you can let it simmer overnight and just use a half quart of water. Even it's better, but look in Boundless, you'll find that. Also, Ben talks about ketones. I just did an interview with Ketone Aid founder. You can learn about that in a podcast a couple weeks ago. And lastly, Ben will have people be able to do a chia seed slurry. Now, I make chia seed pudding a lot, but this one is designed for when you're fasting, so it doesn't break your fast. So you fill 1/10 of the bottom of a glass mason jar or container with 2 to 4 tablespoons of chia seeds. And the rest of the container is filled with water. Use filtered water. Refrigerate overnight and try not to exceed consumption of 4 total tablespoons worth of chia seeds in the course of the 24 hours. So 1 tablespoon equals about 60 calories, and that won't break your fast if it's that little calories. You can add, he likes stevias, he has vanilla and different ones he likes. I don't do well with stevia. Lemon juice, sea salt, you can add different things to the chia seed slurry. And then when you break your fast, try to begin breaking your fast with a light to easy digest meal. I like to do a shake, or you can do a bone broth here. I know Dr. Mindy, I wrote in here that she does like an avocado with some sauerkraut, something that's easy to digest, and then wait to have your meal. So there's a ton of information on Ben Greenfield's website about fasting. Also the book, The Complete Guide to Fasting, Dr. Jason Fung wrote a few years ago. I should pull that back off my shelf. So next time I'll talk about fasting variations that Dr. Mindy's been teaching. And I think it's great, how to incorporate our exercise with that and how to, make everything functional for the low carb athlete. So stay tuned in. If you want to learn more of this, let me know, because then I'll be more motivated to follow through with my goal, because I tend to start things and go, all right, that's too much for me. But I'm really passionate about sharing this information on, we've talked a lot about too low carb for athletes, that you cause more stress or damage to your body, when you could improve performance if you have a little more carbs. Same thing with fasting. If I fast too much, too often, when is it not beneficial for me anymore, especially as a cycling female and premenopausal? There's going to be some different guidelines I need to follow, and then take that all into consideration and be intuitive, listening to your body, knowing when, all right, I need to break that fast, or I'm starting to feel hungry, and things you can do, tricks to improve that fast. But don't try to do a lot of exercise on those fasting days, will be kind of how I wrap up today's show. So I will get more information gathered for you, and let's see what we can come up with. Next time, we'll talk about the variations of fasting and how do we tweak those for us, the athlete. All right, thanks. Have a great day.